So when you refer to something as an alert, is that the dog's indication to you that they've detected the scent that they have been imprinted on and trained on?
A final trained alert is when he does, if you trained him to do a sit or you trained him to do a down at odor. An alert, I would define an alert as any body behavioral change that I recognize that he does when he is in odor and working the odor.
That's different than the final trained alert that you had mentioned?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The final trained alert is?
When he has worked to source and does his... We teach him to work to source.
So let me see if I understand. Once the dog detects the odor, as the handler who has trained with the dog.
How is she still struggling with this concept? She's like, let me see if I understand. Ma'am, he has explained this 50 times over almost.
You can see that there's a behavioral change.
Absolutely. And we bought Garus from one of our vendors that we use to purchase our dogs from.
So did Garus come from Germany?
Yes, he did. He was imported. I believe he'd been here roughly 4 or 5 days when I got him.
Was he a puppy?
No.
How old was he?
He was, I believe he was 20 months, 21 months, something like that.
Was he a puppy? Yeah, I'm going to use a puppy. Like, why would he have a puppy as...
I know his birthday was October 20th.
What are we seeing here?
Final trained alert. Cute! Good boy! You can tell he's proud.
Would like to find the odor, work the source, give me a final trained alert, and then turn and look at me and make eye contact with me. He always has. And this is him, because those photos were actually taken in sequence. When he was working the odor, he gave his final trained alert, looking at the odor, and then turned and looked at me for acknowledgement.
And was this photograph to show the type of reward that he gets?
Yes, that was a ball. Handler praise and a ball. That's his reward.
One of the real world scenarios that you've described was actually captured on videotape?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one?
That was the first one, the female in 2006. I told him I'd come over and try and help him in any way I could. The helicopter searched again, saw that I had arrived, and called me on an off channel. They said they were leaving again, but please be aware that there was a large alligator in the pond in the area that I was just going out there. So I asked them to remain in the area if they would, to watch the alligator while I searched.
All right. Was this in the evening hours? Was it dark out?
Yes, it was dark.
All right. And so the reason why this ended up being captured by the sheriff's office helicopter is because there was an alligator in the area.
Correct.
You would object? Received no prior disclosure on this at all? May we approach?
You may. 12 individuals at some point in time will go back to a jury room, and they will be asked to evaluate the believability of this testimony. And one of the things that this jury is going to have to decide is whether or not this particular canine or any other canine is reliable. So the reliability, the dog's training and certificates, the handler's training and certification, the experience and training of the dog all goes to factors that will enable the trier of fact to determine whether or not they want to accept or reject this evidence. Therefore, my previous ruling will stand. Let's return to jury.
I mean, I disagree, because here's the thing. The examples he just gave were the canine's training and certificates and the handler's training and certificates. All that's already come in. That makes sense. All that's already come in. What he just said to me completely skirts what the issue Mr. Baez raised was. The training certificates and all that already came in. pictures of the training already came in, all this stuff. What is about to come in is a video of a search for something completely different, right? A real world search or whatever, that they just happen to have the helicopter filming because of the alligator that was in somewhere no one knew where it was or whatever for safety's sake. And they just happen to have it on camera. But that's extraneous to the examples that he just even gave, Judge Belvin just gave. So anyway.
Do you know where this body?
The other thing that's weird is that they didn't, like, for both him and then the next witness, who is one of the other canine handlers, they don't have videos or photographs of the actual search for, in this case. Like, it's not, like these days everything's on body cam, right? Apparently that wasn't a thing back then. I don't know if they just didn't have the technology or what, but like, we don't have any body cam footage. But anyway, if ever you would want that when it comes to, well, it's always important, right? But especially when you've got the canine searches, right? Because what they're going to do is they're going to put up a picture and have the witness on the stand point to where the dog was alerting and like circle it with the telestrator. But like, you can't tell from a picture, right? It's 2-dimensional. And it's very different than seeing the dog actually alert, especially if you're going through all the trouble of showing the jury how the dog alerts, what their signals are, what it looks like when they have a scent, right? We're already learning so much about their behavior and whatnot. And then, of course, there's the other factor of whether or not the handler is cueing them or not, because they're not supposed to be doing that. And so when it comes to like what Judge Bell was just saying and the trier fact and whatnot, like if you're going to show them any footage of them doing an actual real world search, shouldn't it be the search in this case? Yeah. Oh, there's the person.
So when you're out of the woods, so to speak, what is it that you can tell us about what Garus was doing on this video to pick up the scent and then ultimately whether or not he gave an alert?
He's working the source. I know he's working odor. He's definitely bringing me to it. And he's bracketing to get to it. I was having to slow him down. If you saw when he would stop, when he stopped immediately, it's because I held the lead because I didn't know where the water was because it was, pitch black down there. I called the unit that was on scene. I said, does it look real or does it look like an animal? And they stated that it looked real.
Yes, it does, Hearsay.
It is Hearsay.
State.
Your Honor, these are the circumstances of his real world.
The fact that he even gives them a chance, that should have just been sustained. It's hearsay.
Find they're relevant to whether or not we
No. I'm sorry, relevance is not an exception to hearsay.
meet the predicate involving Bones.
Objection overruled.
Not surprising, though, that the rules it.
And that's when I discovered the vehicle was still in the bays. I asked them to move the vehicle outside.
Why?
Because in the forensic bay, there are other trash cans, biohazard trash cans where the unit that picks up our biohazard trash come and pick up. It's housed in the same warehouse on the other bay, the opposite bay.
So where did you ask that the individuals present move the car?
I asked them to remove the vehicle from the garage, the bays, and put it outside in the parking lot.
How was that to facilitate or improve Garus's search?
To put it in the open air, to remove it from the other biohazards that were in there, which are also, blood and other evidentiary stuff in the bays, to put it in a clean area. continued down the driver's side to the trunk area. When we turned down the side of the rear of the trunk was open. Garus jumped up into the trunk.
His whole body?
No, front end. Front end, stuck his head in there. And of course I was overwhelmed at that point because same thing, I'm hitting at the same time he is. I move around, continue to walk. Garus comes out of the trunk with his front paws, comes out of the trunk to the right rear passenger taillight bumper area and gives me a final trained alert. He goes into a down position.
Same day?
I believe it was the next day, I'm not sure. The Hope Spring address.
What request was made of you at the Hope Spring residence?
They asked me to come out and if I could do a sweep of the backyard.
All right. So you went there with Garus.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury where the trained final alert occurred? You can tell us straight by touching.
Within that circle, in that area.
No other questions of the witness at this point.
Okay. Cross-examination.
May it please the court.
You may proceed.
Mr. Drane-Burdick. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Deputy Forgey.
Good afternoon.
When you went to first see the car, you were informed that the Pontiac Sunfire was the suspect's vehicle.
It was, I believe what he said was it was the vehicle in question.
What's the matter right here?
That would be the person who's either under arrest or the car is confiscated, right?
Problem.
Later knowing, I don't think she was under arrest at that point, but person of interest, suspects.
Yeah. So that's the problem. It's not.
When you brought out the car from the garage, you brought it out because...
reliable, right? If you already know which car is the car, you know it belongs to a suspect, you're going to bring the dog to that car. It's just, it botches the whole thing. Yeah.
There was trash in the forensic bay area, right?
I don't know if I would classify it as trash. There was other items in the forensic bay.
Now, you don't work there, do you?
I don't work at forensics. No, I work at the sheriff's office.
In fact, you're not very familiar with the goings-ons in the forensic bay, are you?
You'd have to clarify that.
You're not too familiar with the forensic bay garage, are you?
In general, I have a little knowledge there, but do I work there in forensics? No, I do not.
Okay, so you don't know what trash was there, and that's why you asked to bring it out.
Correct.
You had a video of one of your finds. Did you videotape this find?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I
Did
said.
you-
That's what I said. I was like, so we know that you can videotape them, but you didn't videotape this. It's just,
You now have a video camera available.
why?
I'm sure there was one available.
Incredible.
But being as that you knew which car there was, you didn't think it would be advantageous to the jury or anyone to see if there were any cues that you were giving off to the dog?
That's exactly what I said.
If we could have predicted where we are today,
Oh, bad answer.
it would have been videotaped.
Sir?
But it's not a common practice saying to videotape your real searches.
What? What do you, okay, let's walk through that logically. They're saying if I could predict where we are today, what do you mean in trial? What do you expect when you're law enforcement? If you're a detective or if you're in law enforcement and you're working a murder case, shouldn't you expect, like, I don't understand. Like, you should be expecting, anyway. Like, it defies logic to not always have everything videotaped. And I know things are different now, thank goodness. But beyond that, even if you don't have that policy, if you're investigating a murder case, wouldn't that be the time though? Versus filming it when it's just like a practice run because there's an alligator maybe? But then that answer, to give that answer on the stand, that sounds terrible. If I were on a jury and I heard that answer, I'd be like, wow.
Going back to the search of the home, You were called after your alert or your dog full train alert in the backyard. CSI was called out there.
Sergeant Brewer was called first, and then the forensic CSI were called, yes.
And they then began to dig and search for remains in the backyard.
Like I've said before multiple times, it's not. I don't think they dug. I don't know for sure. I know what it appeared to be is what they scraped the surface, but I wasn't present.
They went looking.
Absolutely.
And they didn't find anything.
No, they did not.
And then they called you out the next day to come out.
Yes, sir.
And the next day you came out.
Yes, sir.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened.
The next day, after they had done what they were doing, scraping the surface and moving the area, I did not get any alerts.
And you searched the backyard, and you didn't. And on one day you had an alert, and the next day you didn't. You didn't do a report on that.
That's correct. If you know it's here and I'm looking for other missing items and missing bones, why would I want him to go there and alert? So I want to remove him from there. Was he alerting and trying to get there? Yes. Was I trying to keep him from that? Yes. Was I making him move and search because we figured it was pulled away, disarticulated by animals, which is common, and they'll obviously remove little bones away. So I wanted to search away from that area.
Do you recall giving a deposition in this case on November 29th, 2010, sir?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall being asked a question? He didn't give any alerts at all. And your response being, no, sir. Well, yes, he showed some interest. He showed interest, change of behavior, blah, blah, blah. He did give me his final. Did he give me his final alert? No, sir. Do you recall making that statement, sir?
Yes, I do. That's what I was just referring to and testifying to. Was he alerting? Yes. Did
I
he
don't
give
have
me
a pending
trial?
question, sir. Hold on.
Being allowed to finish his response.
The witness shall be permitted to finish his answer. You may finish your answer, sir.
Thank you, sir. What I was saying is, I testified and at the deposition that the dog was alerting to it, but he didn't give me a final trained alert. Like I explained earlier, he's trying to get to source. I didn't want him to get to source. So he wasn't going to give me a final trained alert over there because I didn't want him to get to there. We were looking for items that they hadn't found. I believe they're really small bones. I don't remember exactly if it was a toe or a finger or what it was, but they knew what they were missing. So I didn't want them to get there. So is that what I was referring to? Absolutely. He didn't.
That doesn't make any logical sense to me. So will someone, does that make any logical sense to anyone else? Like, I don't get
Give
it.
me a final trained alert because I wouldn't allow him to do that. I
But
kept
why would you
moving
do
him.
that? Isn't that his job? I
You
don't
were called out there to find human remains, were you not, sir?
The couple of missing bones.
That's human
Little
remains.
pieces, the missing bones.
You were called out there to find human remains.
Yep.
Sustain.
Would you consider that human remains? Bones?
Right.
Yes.
That is what you find.
You didn't find any human remains.
They had been recovered. I didn't find any. No, sir.
Oh boy.
Neither did your dog.
No, sir.
And your dog did not give a final train alert anywhere on Suburban Drive.
Correct. I would not allow him to give me a final trained alert or
Love
go
it.
to where the body was recovered.
You wouldn't allow him to help you find human
Yeah, that
remains.
makes no sense.
I wouldn't allow him to go to where the body was recovered. They had how many forensic people at that source filtering it? So I knew if they had gone through
He's
it
done.
as
Look at him.
well as they had done this whole.
Look at him. You remember in Debbie Heard, there was that time on Cross when Camille was finished with Amber and Amber just kept talking and Camille just walked off in the middle of some of her answer. And it was like, yes. Oh my God. It was so epic. She just walks off. And then there's in Karen Reed, I remember there were a couple of times where actually I have a clip of it. Instead of me doing an impression, let's hear the real thing where Mr. Yannetti I love this. Check it out. He would say this. Where is it?
We're done here.
We're done here. And see, the thing is that Mr. Baez is he's very professional and polite. So he's not walked off yet, but he's packed up his big binder. Let's watch this again. That's my thought. My thought was like, yep, you can sit down. But he's like, he like doesn't want to be rude, but at the same time, it's like, yes, you can sit down. I want to watch this part again. This is epic. This is so epic, the way he's floundering, not like trying to evade the question, to say that human bones are not human remains, and the fact that that's a huge deal, right? Garus did not give a final alert on Suburban Drive.
No, sir.
And your dog did not give a final train alert anywhere on Suburban Drive.
Correct. I would not allow him to give me a final trained alert or go to where the body was recovered.
You wouldn't allow him to help you find human remains.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I wouldn't allow him to go to where the body was recovered. They had how many forensic people at that source
See, now he's just making excuses, and he's going to pull up his binder like he's going to walk off.
filtering it? So I knew
right
if they had gone through it as well as they had done this whole area, that it wasn't there. They had already sifted that area. He was going there because of the odor. I didn't want him. I wanted them to find what had been removed, so we could have
He's
a
done.
complete body.
And he didn't find.
Not. See, the thing about this prosecution in this case is they don't get out ahead of anything. Like he's been on the stand for like 3 hours or something crazy, right? Like on direct. And then here we are on cross. Cross is like 15 minutes. And he just obliterates them with stuff that they didn't get out ahead of. Now, I don't know how much it would have helped. It would have helped some, but this has been witness after witness after witness after witness. The prosecution doesn't get out ahead of these things. And then he comes in on cross, and rightfully so. And now that's it.
Whatever
I
items
find
were removed.
the 2, 3, 4 missing bones. No, sir.
So you don't know exactly how many missing bones there were.
No, sir. I remember it was a very minute number.
And you don't find yourself qualified to testify to that fact, do you, sir?
They told me that there was a couple bones missing.
You don't. My question to you is, you don't know exactly how many there were.
Could I tell you if there was 10 or 3? No, but they told me there was a very small number.
But that's certainly something you chose to volunteer.
I'm sorry?
That's certainly something you chose to volunteer.
Because I believe it was.
I have no further questions.
Redirect.
Here's what that was about. I love it when it pauses like that. Here's what that was about. So he was about to walk off. Forgey kept talking. Oh boy. Forgey kept talking. He's trying to make excuses, right? For why the hell he didn't, right? Because he's saying, well, it wasn't the dog's fault, which I agree. It's never the dog's fault, right? He's like, I wouldn't let him give his final order because I didn't want him to interfere. It's like, so then he just keeps talking, right? He was going to sit down. Mr. Bias was going to sit down. He just keeps talking. He's digging himself a deeper hole. And he's like, I didn't want him to interfere because they were still looking for more bones, right? So there were still bones missing. See, Mr. Baez knows all this is bullshit. And that's why he asks those questions, because this is going to come up again. This is going to come up again. And he says, and you just volunteered that information, that there were other bones missing. This is going to come up. Wow, what a good cross. Incredible.
Okay, Forgey.
I mean, that cross is brilliant because he starts out, with the point that I made, you filmed the other things, but you didn't film what matters. You didn't film any of this, right? And then again, the fact that he knew the vehicle belonged to the suspect ahead of time, that shows handler bias, right? Didn't film any of this. And then all these other issues from the other statements you'd made that you in the deposition, you said something different. He impeached him a couple times on that for like false alerts and whatnot. And then getting to the actual case here at hand, he didn't actually make a final alert. I mean, done. And 15 minutes? Incredible.
Whatever the dog was alerting on was on the surface. And with them scraping the area and disturbing it.
Oh, really?
It was moved or diminished. Where the dog wouldn't find it, it was gone at that point. But if something was on the surface that they had scraped, I clearly believe that's exactly what happened. That's why we didn't get anything the next day.
So he's blaming the forensic people for scraping the surface of the soil and saying it spread the smell out. No, I don't think so.
And when trying to interpret what a dog is doing or saying, speculation, is it not?
Speculation on my training experience with the dog, absolutely it is. That's part of my job. And prior to being a canine handler, I worked the road and worked many of deceased people calls, dead unattended. And so that would be without my dog.
They've never asked you to come out instead of the dog.
Oh, no, they've not. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy, be excused.
That's funny.
Prior to the arrival of Bones at the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, did you yourself do any training?
Yes, ma'am. It was kind of a hobby for me to train dogs in protection, obedience, and article tracking.
I missed your answer. Can you repeat
You weren't listening.
that for me, please?
I did canine training as kind of a hobby, which was protection,
I heard the answer.
obedience, and article tracking.
All right. Independent of your position with the Osceola County Sheriff.
That's correct.
And what does that stand for?
It's National Narcotic Detector Dog Association, but it has a branch for cadaver
They're
certification.
relevant in this case.
This is, as the name implies, a national group that certifies specialty dogs in all disciplines.
I believe.
What is wrong with her? As the name implies, the name was narcotics. Proves my point. Guys, like what I said, she doesn't listen. Let's listen again to this. This is insanity to me. What is happening? And that's leading.
And what does that stand for?
It's National Narcotic Detector Dog Association, but it has a branch for cadaver.
National Narcotic Dog Association. Then she says it has a branch for cadaver, but the association, NNDA, National Narcotic Dog Association. Now let's listen to what she says next.
Certifications.
All right. This is, as the name implies, a national group that certifies specialty dogs in all disciplines.
This witness must be so confused because how? I just don't understand. Like, what are you even doing if you're not listening to the answer? Not to mention, she has this information in front of her on a report or on a sheet. She has this information and she just got the answer. Okay.
I believe. I know cadaver and narcotics. I'm not sure about bomb work.
The thing is that even if she had said, okay, this is NNDA, and what does that stand for? National, let's change it. Let's change it to NEDA. What does it stand for? National Everything Dog Association. Even if that's what she had said, the question still would have been dumb. If she had said, and as the name implies, it means everything, that still would have been a dumb question. But it's even worse when it just completely disregards the answer, and the answer was very specific.
Or there's the ND. You'll have to repeat that for me.
You'll have to repeat that for me. I heard it once and I got it. Not only did she say an NDA, she said an NDA, then she said a National Narcotics Dog Association, then she asked that dumbass question about, does that mean it does everything? Then she said it again. I believe narcotics, and it has a branch for cadaver. And then she says, and then you'll have to repeat that again for me. It's making me want to lose my mind.
What sort of reward, if any, is Bones given when he makes a successful find?
Tennis ball.
Cute.
Is he ever rewarded with food?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because he's given food or treats just as for being a dog. So his favorite reward is his tennis ball.
He's given food or treats for being a dog. Accurate. Yes. A+ for that.
If you would explain to the members of the jury what you did with Bones on July 17th of 2008.
He immediately did a quick search of the yard. He went around where there was a swimming pool, and then he went back towards the screened-in porch. He checked a couple corners of the area. His nose was down. He spent approximately 3 to 4 minutes searching in the backyard. I saw that there was an area of interest that he kept going back to and sniffing pretty hard. He finally came back to that same area after making another lap of the yard and gave a final trained indication in one location in the backyard.
Okay. What indication was given?
He sat.
This is the trained final alert that you described earlier.
Yes.
The monitor in front of you is a telestrator. Can you indicate to the members of the jury where you got the trained final alert?
So Bones successfully got a final alert. So this is
Basically in that area right there.
confusion, right? About was there a body in the yard? Was there not a body in the yard? We have got two different dogs with two different answers.
Do you return the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you return the next day, had it become apparent to you that the surface had been disturbed in some fashion?
Yes.
Did you run Bones through the same process on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what result did you receive then?
No alerts.
Okay. Do you have some opinion as to why that occurred on day 2?
Whatever he was alerting to could have been moved or destroyed or dissipated because of all the work that had been done. Or they may just not have dug enough to find what may have been below the surface.
Now, this is an area you circled where you had indicated your dog alerted to,
Yes.
correct? You also testified that Sergeant Forgey had informed you that his dog alerted 6 to 8 feet away from this.
Correct.
Where did he indicate to you that his dog had alerted?
He didn't show me specifically.
Okay. It couldn't have been 6 to 8 feet to the right, correct?
You'd have, I can't.
Can you look at the photo there and see if there's anything that would block 6 to 8 feet in that direction?
It's not to scale without seeing it. I can't.
From your memory
I can't see.
of the backyard, was the house that little house blocking 6 to 8 feet away?
It could have been.
Okay. Deputy Forgey didn't inform you that his dog went in the little house and alerted there, correct?
No.
Now, your understanding from where you were indicated, 6 to 8 feet would either be close to the sidewalk here, correct?
He didn't indicate which direction.
I know. I'm going to give you different possibilities. It could be closer to the sidewalk there, right? To the right?
Overall,
In this direction, correct?
It could be.
And it could also be this direction, correct?
Could be.
And that would be closer to the swimming pool?
I believe so. I'd have to see a photo to say for sure.
Your memory.
Brilliant. I didn't even see that coming. Close the 6 to 8 feet, because it could be in any direction, right? But it couldn't be in the direction of the Playhouse because the Playhouse would be in the way. And remember, I swear, the freaking prosecution has not shown us any pictures of the swimming pool, which is, like, what are you doing? It's mind-boggling. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, wow, right. Because they keep showing that picture of the backyard. Here, let me show it. Let me show this picture. It's one picture of the backyard that they keep showing, right? This is the one that's in evidence. Now, I'm sure the defense will more than likely admit, when it's their case in chief, other pictures, conveniently leaves out the swimming pool. This is the one that we keep seeing. This is the only one we keep seeing. Incredible. So the swimming pool is right if you're facing that blue circle, it's to the left of that, right? And they're just not showing it. It's so deceptive. It's like, so we don't have a reference point. So thank God for these questions, because what he's saying is 6 to 8 feet away, but we don't know what direction, or they're being evasive about what direction, right? But it can't be in the direction of the Playhouse because that's blocking it. So if you go 6 to 8 feet the other direction, that's the swimming pool. And we wouldn't know that if it wasn't for that question, because of the fact that they have not shown us pictures of the full backyard, which includes the swimming pool, or just the swimming pool, period.
Your understanding from where you were indicated, 6 to 8 feet would either be close to the sidewalk here, correct?
If you go back 6 to 8 feet, you got a fence. If you go to the side, you got the Playhouse.
Closer to the sidewalk there, right? To the right?
And the other one is the sidewalk.
overall,
Yep.
In this direction, correct?
It could be.
And it could also be this direction, correct?
Could be.
And that would be closer to the swimming pool?
There.
I believe so. I'd have to say a photo to say for sure. I think the first arrow would have been
Right.
more.
Yeah, the thing went a little haywire on me at
It
the
went
end.
haywire
but-
on him. That's where the pool is. So now we know where the pool is, right? So like I said, it's like to the left-ish. It's to the side and to the left of that blue dot, right? But it's in that direction where you would expect it to be. So you can see exactly what he's getting at here.
Right in this direction, correct?
Yes.
Now, you never deployed.
About the pool. This is incredible because there's so much evidence that surrounding this pool. I mean, mostly from Cindy herself, right? But I guess circumstantial. But the dog alerting at the pool. Wow.
Do you have a title such as detective? I want to make sure I'm going to call you the right name. Detective Osborne.
Detective is fine.
Oh,
Detective Osborne, as a result of your
that's the
position,
part I was saying. It's like, how do you not know? And the way she asks this, she didn't just say, "Is there a title that you've reached, in your career?" That would have been, but the way that she says, "Do you have a certain title? I want to make sure I call you the right name." Oh God.
in the forensics unit with the Orange County Sheriff's Office, did you receive several items of evidence in connection with the investigation into the disappearance of Kaylee Marie Anthony?
I did.
How is that not on her sheet?
Did the first item that was provided to you consist of a cell phone purported to belong to Casey Marie Anthony?
Yes.
Are there forensic applications that you can use to determine the contents of a camera, or do you just scroll through it like I would?
I use a forensic tool to examine the camera.
All right. And what tool was used?
This detective is like, what type of dumbass question are you asking? Right now?
To examine the Nikon Coolpix?
I use a forensic software tool called Encase, made by Guidance Software.
There's a monitor. It looks like it's been turned. If you could just turn it to you. Well, it's in evidence.
Oh God.
Got turned off as well.
Let's just
May I publish the item to?
let's just let the witness figure it out, because you don't know what, dude. I swear,
The jury.
he's only an expert witness. Look at her fixing it.
You were asked to run searches for chloroform on
Yeah.
Ricardo Morales'
And
computer.
that picture, remember, this came up in his testimony. That picture that he had sent to Casey on Instagram, and it was like, kill her with chloroform or win her over with chloroform or something like that. It was supposed to look like a glamorous perfume commercial. And I think what he's going to be getting at is that she, the infamous chloroform search, right, that she makes. I think what he's going to be getting at through these various different witnesses with the computer forensics and all that, is I think he's going to show that search for chloroform first happened after he sent her that picture and she didn't know what it was. The way that changes this entire thing in terms of the public and the general consensus that, because the people that are just like, she did it, blah, blah. Like if you were asked them like how Kaylee died, they probably would say something about chloroform. Although we still haven't heard from the ME yet. Again, well, that'll be on the next episode. But, because there's this whole thing about, because the chloroform was found in the trunk. And of course, there's plenty of other explanations for that, as we heard. And because the search for chloroform, right? Oh, she searched for chloroform. It changes everything if you think, oh, after she got that picture from him, and I mean, we'll see what happens. He might even be able to show the timestamp that it was like immediately upon receipt she searched for it, right? Because she didn't know what it was. And the other thing, and I thought about this, was if you did a search for chloroform, and then later on you did a search for chlorine, for whatever reason, right? But you just type CHLOR, or that's what you intend, it could suggest chloroform. And as we know from all these other trials, sometimes that'll run in the background, even if you don't click on it or search for it. So anyway, it's just funny. There's that similarity to CHLOR, as the first four letters, but it's so crazy about this picture, right? So that's what he's about to ask her about, that picture from Ricardo. Get out the Elmo. So I left it in. Look, they're setting off the Elmo.
I will show you what's been admitted into evidence as defense exhibit 1, or defense evidence 1.
Oh, well, no.
Are you familiar with this photograph?
I'm sorry, you asked if I recognize this picture?
Yes.
I've seen it, yes.
Okay. And are you you aware that this was posted on Ricardo Morales' MySpace account?
No, I'm not.
And I know you can only see one portion of it, but can you read to the ladies and gentlemen, or read into the record what it says?
Win her over with chloroform.
What do you see in the photograph?
What's depicted in the photograph is a couple, a man and a woman. A woman is sitting at the chair, apparently dining in a black evening gown. The man is looking over her shoulder with a white cloth in his hand, reaching around behind her shoulder.
I subsequently had an opportunity to attend a class put on by a gentleman by the name of John Bradley. He was teaching a class in the use of a internet history tool, Cashback. This tool was able to compensate for the fact that this history record spanned
So John Bradley, we are going to be hearing from him on the next one.
this length of time, and I utilized that in order to show the records a little bit more easily.
Someone is looking at a screen that says that mentions chloroform, and then 10 seconds later they're at MySpace.
So somebody did a search, a specific search for the term chloroform, and then subsequently went to a different website.
And that's the point, right? Because again, that picture from Ricardo with chloroform was on MySpace. So she might have seen it on MySpace and then looked it up because she didn't know what it was.
Which is MySpace.
That's correct. I've seen the photo.
Okay. Are you aware that that photo was on Ricardo Morales' MySpace page?
Yes, sir.
It's beautiful.
May the sergeant be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Sergeant. You may be excused, sir. Thank you.